Hi, everybody. It's Tim Pohanka, and I'm here with our Fredericksburg Strong episodes podcasting here. I'm very lucky to have a very special guest here today, remotely, of course, because we're practicing social distancing. I have Marc talking to us from the Marine Corps Marathon. How you doing, Marc?
Hey there, Tim. Nothing would make me happier than to actually be there in person with you, as we've gathered a lot of times in the past to talk about our good work in the community and on this event specifically. But I'm happy to be social distance practicing with you today.
Well, I am glad to have you here, and I guess you have some news for us today.
Yeah, as you know, the historic half is scheduled for the weekend of May 15th to 17th. And what was really exciting was this event, shaped up to be one of the largest historic halves that we've had in the 13 years of the event. But of course, as the coronavirus outbreak has occurred and we've seen more stay-at-home orders issued, the event future had been in jeopardy for this year. And with yesterday's announcement by the governor of the Commonwealth that he was extending the stay-at-home order through June, we are really in a position now where we're going to have to cancel this year's Marine Corps Historic Half. So even as you and I are talking and recording this, the Marine Corps Marathon organization, the team, is putting together the official announcement. It's something that we're all disappointed about. We know that running a long distance event like a half marathon or the Devil Dog Double, which is 18.1 miles, or the 5 miler, that requires training and it requires a long-standing commitment. And so, we can feel the pain when the excitement for the light at the end of the tunnel and the event is canceled. So we've got some solutions. We've got some great alternatives because we want to be as loyal to the running community as they are to the Marine Corps Marathon organization. So we're going to share those. I'll be happy to talk about them with you now, but at least to share at the outset here, we're regretfully having to announce that the Marine Corps Historic Half for 2020 is canceled.
Well, Marc, let's talk about that for a second because I don't. It's not like you can just go outside, put on a pair of running shoes, everyone agree to meet at a certain park and run a race. There's a lot of logistics and things that go involved in this. So for everyone who doesn't know, what are the details or what do you have to do to prepare for this event? You know what we have to do to train, or what I don't do when I go to train. But what is it that you all have to do to organize this?
It is a year-long process that really begins the day of the event, where we look at what's unfolding in front of us and begin coming up with solutions, alternative recommendations, how to improve for the next year. So we are constantly growing the event. We're incrementalists in that regard, right? Every year it gets better and better. So there's different divisions to the Marine Corps Marathon organization, and I can speak specifically to how they each plan long-term for the event. There's the operations team that has to work closely with the city, with law enforcement and EMS and public works, and build a course that the city can support, that doesn't impair the residents, that supports the businesses, and meets timelines so that everyone can enjoy it without really being encumbered by the event strolling through their neighborhoods, and really just enjoy the spectacle that it is. So they're building the course, working on timelines and understanding where the fastest runners are going to be, when the slowest runners are going to be coming through, understanding what our water requirement needs are and where those are going to be positioned, figuring out the manpower requirements, what we have from the Marine Corps, what we have from the community that's going to volunteer, and executing that plan, all of these roles that everyone has. And that's the operations side. On the business side, they're working
Marc,
on
real
putting a
quick,
registration
when you talk about the operations, let's talk about something that I know about. When you look at, you have to be able to get areas that the EMS can still go through. We were looking to put an arch up a couple of years ago, and they couldn't fit fire trucks through. You're looking at how it takes to do traffic patterns. We run by the hospital, and part of it's Hospital Hill, which is the emergency room. So there is a lot when you think about what you're doing with the city in terms of the manpower. That really can be a really encumbersome part to the whole thing.
Yeah, and you're looking at the start of an event, you've got 7,000 people that are all lined up together, and as the event, you know, proceeds throughout the morning, they spread out, and so you've got, you know, a bell curve. Really, you've got the fast people up front, you've got the masses in the middle, you've got people at a slower pace in the back, and it's understanding the tempo of the event and what that's going to mean for the city and also the support services. Like you said, you know, a water point for the first portion of that bell curve is a lot easier to manage, pouring and handing out the water as there's people trickling through. But when you've got hundreds every minute coming through at the top of the bell curve, the operation suddenly changes, right? You've got a lot more of an impact coming through there and having to manage that. So it's that type of understanding how to manage the event. And like you said, some simple requests can come. We've got great sponsors who want to do things on the course and seeing the community, the sites of Fredericksburg, and something as simple as putting up an arch across the street. We've got to understand we've got to have the clearance for emergency vehicles. We've got cleaning vehicles because we want to leave the city looking better than when we first arrived. So we clean up the streets, and so there's traffic patterns too, and there's a vehicle parade that precedes and follows the event. So it's all part of understanding, you know, very tight moment by moment timeline for the execution of the event.
Okay, so you talked about the logistics. I'm sorry for interrupting, but keep going on the other parts that you have to organize.
Yeah, jump in anytime. I mean, I'm happy to talk about this. I love what I do, and I love producing this event. So we have, you know, on the business side handles the registration process. They're the ones working right now on getting the solutions in place so that the runners will be able to respond to the announcement today that the event is canceled and the options that they'll be able to execute through transactions online. So that whole process is constructing, you know, the user experience, you know, basically the online customer experience for a runner as they click through and they purchase their registration and the information flow that they'll receive as a part of that transaction. And then they also handle all the results data and all the information that comes in from the timing on there so that we can then verify and validate everybody's results. So that's a part of the process and the planning that goes out, you know, across a 13-mile event. It's not something like contained to a baseball field or a football field. It's city blocks and
well, you know, you mentioned something just then that was really important. You said customers, the customer experience. I think it's, you know, it's interesting that you would say it that way. When you know, they're not just running, and you're not just an event people putting it on, but you're handling customers. It's a customer satisfaction.
Yeah, well, certainly when you're going through a transaction like registering, right? I mean, it's like any other purchase they're making, but they're really, you know, at that point, unlike when you you know, click and buy something online, you are really signing up to be a part of something significant and a part of a community. You know, you might buy a ticket to a concert or even to attend a sporting event as a fan, but when you are signing up to run in one of these events, you are agreeing to, well, maybe not you, Tim, but most people are agreeing to train multiple days a week, right? And so they're a part of this on a almost daily basis, and they're checking in and they're sharing their updates and their successes and their challenges and their injuries. And this is something that from the moment they press the button and purchase the registration and sign up, that they are committing themselves on a daily basis until event day. So we recognize, you know, what a big decision.
Well, it's almost like you're saying that they're becoming an owner. I mean, isn't that kind of what you say? It's the people's marathon. That's what you gear into. You're selling ownership in these events.
Well, and responsibility. We talk about, the core values of the Marine Corps: honor, courage, and commitment. And, you know, the, there's great commitment associated with this, right? You don't show up without, having committed some portion of your life to training, eating right, planning for that weekend. It requires a commitment from your family to give up time with you when you're going to go out and train. So we recognize, what values the people have to hold to be able to accomplish what it is that they're signing up to do.
I think that's an important part of what makes you all so special. We have an opportunity to partner with a lot of people, and I will tell you that it's the commitment that you all make to everything that you do, which is so impressive. And I think it's also part of what's making it so difficult when you make the decisions that you've had to about canceling the event.
We work very hard with the understanding in mind of how special this day is. It's special for the city. It's an opportunity to showcase the best of Fredericksburg during what we hope is always a lovely weekend there, weather-wise. It's important for our sponsor partners like you to be able to, not only show off the city with pride, but to give something back to the Marine Corps, give something back to your city, and be a part of a message that is wholly positive, and it's about being healthy and being active. And so that's a good association. We recognize, what it means to the runners. And so we want them to have that unique experience alongside the Marines. This isn't just a run like other runs. This is the one where the Marines organize it. They're a part of every facet of the coordination of the historic half. They're out there handing the water to the runners. They are out there, handing them their bibs. They are out there at the finish line putting medals around their necks. So that's a really special and unique interaction. And we take, the experience that we offer runners, very seriously. And like you said,
It's funny you should say that, Mark, is I remember that experience the first time I did one of your events. I remember tracking my times, and I remember watching every time I passed by the Marines, I mysteriously got faster. And then at the finish line, when you sit there and a Marine officer or enlisted personnel gives you your medal, you realize I'm not doing anything that these men and women don't do every day under the worst of circumstances. And then they come out here to help us in the morning for God knows how long. What time do they get there?
Yeah, they're out usually. I don't know what time they're loading the buses that morning, but they're out there about 4 hours before the event, so sometime in the 3-4 o'clock hour, getting everything set up.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
Marine
you
Corps
mentioned some
Marathon Day,
virtual or some alternative things.
Yeah, so Tim, let's talk about what the options are going to be for the runners, because it remains our commitment that people are active and healthy and running as best they can in the current circumstances within what is allowed in whatever their area is that they're residing right now. So the options for those who are registered for the historic half are going to be, they can defer to 2021. We've heard from runners who are in areas where they're on lockdown and they can't go out. We've heard from people who are have been exposed and just can't continue with their exercise regimen. People can defer. People also have a lot of new commitments in their houses, whether they're the kids home, whether they're teleworking. Things have changed. So we understand that running might not be a possibility to the level that they want to, and so they can defer. We offer a deferment option, but there are fees associated with that. The transaction would not result in any additional fees. Just take your entry fee from 20 and move it to 2021. That's one option. The other is they can run virtually. And we unfortunately had to cancel our first event of the 2020 calendar year just last weekend, the Marine Corps 1775K. We offered the virtual option, and people were really thrilled to participate in this and continue on their path of training. And they send us snapshots from their screen of their run, using various fitness apps. And we see that they've accomplished their run, and we have been sending them their medal and their shirt. And we will do the same for Historic Half Weekend. People can choose the virtual option if they're already registered. We will send your medal. We will send your shirt. We are producing a virtual event program, so that'll be a digital version that people will be able to read about the event. We are also going to create virtual finisher certificates to authenticate it. And then the other piece that we're working on is what we're calling the audio experience. And so runners will be able to download a special app for the Historic Half called Motigo, and they will be able to listen as they run. They can have their own soundtrack in their earbuds running virtually, but by having this app opened, it will play specific Historic Half messages, including I'm going to do the whole opening motivating speech that would normally be played at the start line that I would announce. We're going to put that in there so everyone can have their own private audience with the start line announcements. We'll have other cheer messages from Marine officials, sponsors, Tim, if you'd like to record one, and other things about Fredericksburg that we're going to introduce into this audio experience so that people can get a flavor for the Historic Half no matter where they run it. So these are the options, and regardless of which path you choose to defer or to run virtually, everyone who is already registered for the Historic Half is going to get a 30% loyalty credit for a discount off of another Marine Corps Marathon event series date this year. We have events in June, August, and November, or during MCM weekend, the MCM 10K or the MCM Kids Run. So the runners are loyal to us and our events, and we want to return that by giving them a percentage off to continue running, and hope to see them out at a start line again soon. So those are our suggestions for what the runners can do with their entries. We'll be sharing that information very soon.
I think that's what makes you guys different, makes you guys an amazing group. Just that whole soundtrack going behind it, I just kind of gets me thinking, oh wow, that'd be kind of fun to do your run, not just listen to music, but to listen to crowd noise or someone giving you almost like a virtual coach as you're going along. So
Yeah,
I'm going to ask you to go
Marine
into the
Corps
future a little bit. What is the status of the Marine Corps Marathon itself?
Well, before Marine Corps Marathon, as I said, we've got events on Quantico in June and in August, and then Marathon in October. And so just like right up until today, when the decision was made about the Historic Half, we remain focused on planning our events. But of course, now we've had the drill twice to understand what it means to, as I've been calling it, unwind an event and turn it in a different direction. So it's a skill I would have never wanted to have, but we're kind of understanding how to do this. But the plans remain that we are focused on hosting our events and hope the conditions support all of our great plans for this year and the big 45th Marine Corps Marathon anniversary in October.
I was talking to somebody the other day about how important sports have been in American culture. And when you think about everything that's been taken off because of the need for social distancing, whether it be baseball, basketball, hockey, now running, that social interaction is incredibly important for people. So I'm definitely hoping that you got to have that event and we can all get back to a normal on this.
Running is kind of interesting because somehow over the years it has become, running events at least have become a place where people turn to reform their lifestyle. Right, I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to lose weight, or if they're dealing with some sort of sudden change in their health condition, this is how I'm going to fight it. I'm going to run, or to honor a loved one, or to run for a charity, or to run in memory of somebody. And so there's a lot about running that is an individual experience, and it's a lot about their thinking and time to be alone with your thoughts while you're running. But the payoff is the joy of being in the big crowd on event day and feeling that energy and looking around and knowing that other people are out there thinking the things and feeling the things and experience things similar to what I as an individual runner am. And I think that's comforting. And so we'll do what we can virtually to maintain that community and the importance that it serves. But like you, I said, there'll be no replacement for getting everybody together and having a successful and motivating experience with the Marines.
So I did see online that a gentleman has turned his house into a track, and he is going around marking every time he goes by and marking it off as a mile marker. So he keeps having someone put a little mark on the lap around his house to do that. So there are people finding unique ways to do that, Mark. So just to let you know that's one I saw. But I want to have a little fun with this. I don't want to sort of to be on a downside. What is the craziest thing you've seen happen in one of these marathons?
I'll talk until a specific thing comes to mind. I mean, what I have learned over the years is that for whatever reason, unexpected will always occur. I mean, from last year in the middle of the Marine Corps Marathon finish line, Vice President Mike Pence, gives about 15 minutes notice and shows up at the finish line, and of course, that's a whole exercise in security. I think when I think of the historic half, I'll go back some years, but I remember I was on the announcing platform and I saw a woman coming across the finish line who was incredibly pregnant, and I shouted down to her, how far along? And she was 39 weeks at the time. And then later we did a story with her, and I think this was like her sixth kid or something. So running a half marathon the week that she was due, for someone who had a handful of kids already was no big deal. So you see crazy
Did you give her 2 medals?
Accomplishments like that. We might have sent an additional medal for that baby.
I would think that at that point in time she earned 2 medals.
Yeah.
So, how did you break into this? Were you an avid runner?
I was a fair runner when I first came into this position. I have been in sports marketing and event management for about 25 years now. A lot of it with the Marine Corps Marathon, but I've also served as the public relations director for what is now Capital One Arena. So I was promoting all sorts of events, family shows, concerts around the calendar for several years there. I worked with some event and sports companies as account executive as a PR agency, and I've been with Marine Corps Marathon for all this time. So I've worked in the events field for a lot of years, and I find it to be incredibly gratifying to be able to work behind the scenes as we do year round and plan things and have this vision and one chance to execute it and see thousands of people out there interacting with the experience that you've created for them. it's a very gratifying thing that is not present in all types of marketing. You've got you could be marketing a product, but you wouldn't be out there seeing the people use it. But that's different here, and it's very rewarding to see people on event day and what the experience means to them, and to know that we're a part of establishing that for them.
Now, there's not much downtime between events for there, is there?
There's never downtime. I keep thinking there's going to be downtime, but with us having event weekends in March, May, June, August, October, November, you've basically got all these planning cycles that are at different stages of development. So, we might be early on for one event and doing long range planning, and the other we're in the nuts and bolts, doing site visits and getting ready to execute. So it's about, I say I'm an air traffic controller, landing different planes at different times, and just keeping the event calendar moving forward.
Well, I will say this, Mark. You guys do an amazing job. The entire team over there is a credit to runners around the world. The events are amazing. If you've never run in a Marine Corps event, you owe it to yourself to give it a try. We've seen amazing people at the finish line. People who never thought they could do a race, just crossing and having a great time. Mark, thank you for coming on here. I know it was a little challenging, and I know you have a lot of challenges going on over the next few days and few months. We appreciate everything that you're doing here to bring a normal back to everyone's life. Please give our best to everyone out there, and stay safe, my friend.
Well, thank you. You've always been a champion of the event. You're a good friend, and I appreciate the kind words. And we know in the end this is a running event, but we hope that however people experience it, it offers them some joy during these difficult and unusual times. And we'll keep working so that we can produce these type of experiences for people. And the hope is that everyone stays active, stays healthy, and just keeps running. So that means you too, Tim.
All right, thank you.